Well, we've been looking for some of the best interior design in the country, and this is our last episode before our final best of the best, with only 2 spots remaining in our top 10. Welcome to Australia by Design Interiors.
It'd be hard to find a more qualified group of people to judge these projects. This group are responsible for some of the best interior design projects in the country.
Well, our team of design industry leaders gathered at Top 3 by Design in Sydney are going to be very hard pushed to choose just 2 between this stunning inner city showroom, Angela's family-friendly minimalism, Reno's rock and roll hotel, and the concrete piece of architectural elegance that I am about to show you.
The architects FGR have created a wonderful, robust concrete structure that really serves the family well.
The palette reflects the minimalist design of the house, using materials such as concrete, glass and timber to create a light-filled, robust family home.
Hidden away in this typical Melbourne suburb is this brand new, atypical home. And whilst its monastic exterior makes quite the statement, it's inside where the real story gets told. Wow, I tell you what, this house just never ends. How long is this?
The house is about 45 metres long. Concrete, I think, is misunderstood as a palette. People take it as a cold product, but I feel it's got a really tangible and warm presentation about it.
Particularly when you have these little wood moments, it really warms up the space, doesn't it? And the whole thing just floats. I mean, you've almost hidden the 2 support poles in the mullions.
The whole idea is to let those columns dilute themselves within the window frames and allow the outside and inside to sort of merge into one.
For a house that has so many clean, minimal surfaces, they've done a beautiful job with the furnishings because it's so tactile and so warm, yeah?
They haven't over-furnished it, and they've let the space breathe.
You've got quite a lot of borrowed landscape here too, haven't you?
When we came to site, we noticed the surrounding vegetation.
Yes.
So when placing this precast panel, the intention was to open that slit to allow you to visually connect.
Yeah, you're almost bookending it with landscape.
If you read this space, you almost got 3 layers of sheets of concrete.
Yes.
We deal with corridor as 1, staircase as 2, and behind this one, we tuck this room away.
Oh, beautiful. I love the way the mirrors are just hanging.
Correct, and they create the divide now.
And you can still have a conversation with your partner while she's in bed, and you have a shower, and it's all very open and transient, isn't it? You wouldn't think of putting concrete in a bedroom, but it just works so well with all this beautiful soft linen, yeah?
The linen next to the concrete is so soft. In the evening, once the lights go on, it just softens the palette even further.
They must have felt incredible moving into this home for the first time, because it was quite a long build period, yeah?
It is, and it's quite different from what they're used to. Yeah. So they've maybe come from a conventional home into a 95% concrete and glass combination home.
I've got to say, Ainsley, you've done a beautiful job decorating this house.
Thank you, I'll take credit for that. I just went with what I liked. So there's a few brands that I like, there's a few styles that I like, and it's a bit of a mix of everything. And we've got elements of metal and leathers and different fabrics throughout the house, but the wood definitely softens it a little bit.
Were you surprised when this design was first presented to you?
We went to for us asking for a concrete jungle.
You asked for a concrete jungle?
We sure did.
Wow.
I love it open, big, spacious. That was exactly what we wanted, so.
You waited a long time to move into this house, yeah?
It did take a little while, yeah.
And was that trying for the both of you?
Well, we lived with my mother-in-law while we did it, so you could say that
answer is
it.
yes. Obviously, the family are super happy, but I've got to ask, how did the neighbourhood feel? Because this is a very progressive home in a fairly mid-century neighbourhood, yeah?
Well, my response is that we're not designing cars today and mimicking the same design of cars that were 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So why are we still trying to mimic house designs 60 years ago? We can advance them.
Exactly.
in time.
Yeah, this is about advancing.
Correct.
Well, I've got to say, mate, I'm a big fan of your new Frontier.
Thank you.
Faraz has created a lovely, warm, sophisticated family home using one of the most industrial building products around, concrete. But it's the gentle infusion of natural light, garden, textures, and even colour that has made all the difference. Our hunt for Australia's best interior design is nearly over. Time for Angela to find the secrets behind showroom style.
There's lots of things to love about this showroom, but the thing that really stands out to me is the use of colour palettes to zone spaces and really showcase the furniture.
Hassel here have created an environment where people can walk in and imagine the furniture in their own home.
If you're going to design a place to showcase beautiful design, then the pressure is really on. Stylecraft has been in this building for a long time. Why did you feel the need to change everything?
Well, we have been in this iconic Melbourne location for over 13 years. This is to really showcase what we can do residentially.
So these 2 floors are all about Stylecraft Home.
Stylecraft Home, yes, which was a new brand that we launched in Sydney over 2 years ago. We've generally been known for our commercial furniture ranges, and so when the opportunity came to expand into the whole building, we were really keen to bring that concept down to Melbourne.
Stylecraft came to us to think about what a new showroom could be for them. We thought about what is home, and home for us is very much a space that is a series of rooms that are interconnected. Each of those rooms offer nourishment or relaxation, an area where people can gather and entertain. So those spaces are all connected to create a beautiful home. So we create these intimate sort of zones within the larger showroom space.
So you can really see that you've got a dining setting, you've got a lounge setting, and so it does feel like you would feel at home.
Yeah, it's right. We wanted to create intimacy within the space as well. So we wanted to be able to allow people to be able to come in and really get a sense of what those settings could look like in their own space. It's really great because obviously we're starting to talk more to residential clients as well as the commercial clients as well.
This screen works really well because it breaks up the space, but it doesn't create a barrier.
That's right. Using a mesh, was a really great way to divide spaces up, but allow light to still be able to come through quite easily. It also creates a depth to it as well in terms of being able to use it as a device to divide.
And this feels like a little bit like an outdoor space.
That's right. So part of the nature of the building, we sort of had these sort of different levels that we had to sort of play with. So these create, again, these intimacy within the space as well. So we've got areas where we can place small settings. And again, we can create these sort of zones within the larger showroom space as well.
And it's all really good quality furniture, isn't it?
That's right. A lot of the brands that they represent are European. And what that started to do is to start to think about some of the design. What you'll notice is this large piece here.
Exactly.
Is the Portico. So very much the idea of the Italian sort of outdoor-indoor space. And it's used as a linking device to connect the upstairs to the downstairs space.
The showroom was already here, wasn't it, when you started?
That's right. This actually used to be a nightclub many, many moons ago. And the terrazzo is defined and changes colour, which actually is where the old dance floor used to be.
Fantastic.
I think the great thing about coming into the showroom is that it always changes. So every time you do come in, the showroom is enabling different pieces to be able to be displayed and set up in different ways. As you move through the showrooms, colour is used as a device to create those markers that signify different rooms. So in here, it's the deep greens. It's very much sort of the gentleman's club. It's almost you're stepping into this sort of dark and moody sort of space.
Or a gentlewoman's club.
Gentlewoman, that's right.
So it's much richer, much darker?
That's right. We wanted to create that idea that it's almost like a smoking lounge. You sort of come in, you might read a book. It feels a lot more cosy and welcoming as well. Upstairs in the lounge, it's sort of a dusty blue. And then with the Portico, we sort of used more like a core 10 rich rusted colour as well. So it's creating this sort of real contrast between the different colour palettes, but it creates something that's a little bit more different and unusual for a showroom space.
And that green too works really beautifully with the tone of the Scotch, doesn't it?
That's right. We worked on the project up in Sydney as well for Stylecraft Home, and in Sydney it was a lot brighter. In Melbourne, this was really an opportunity for us to really connect with the local. Melbourne is a lot darker and, you know, a lot greyer in terms of the weather and the outlook, so there is a much more sort of a cooler and contrast use of colour as well throughout the showroom space.
A bit more European.
That's right. Obviously, looking at a lot of the brands that they represent, we started to think about what are some of those architectural devices that we see throughout Europe, and the Portico was one of those sort of devices. It sort of talks to sort of the Italian indoor-outdoor and creating the use of terrazzo as well on the floor. We wanted to sort of bring together this idea of sort of, you know, almost holidaying in sort of Italy. And so a lot of the brands to sort of represent that as well. So as someone comes into the space, they feel like this is sort of a connector that draws them down here as well.
So we can all pretend we got to go to the Mediterranean last winter.
Exactly.
As a designer, I love coming here. Not only does it do a great job of showcasing the furniture, but it inspires me and I genuinely feel relaxed and at home. Hassel's design work has turned what was already a pretty great furniture showroom into a destination.
Well, welcome back to Australia by Design Interiors. It's time to leave the cool confines of Melbourne and head north for a rock and roll tour with Reno.
This hotel chain is right through the world and they have done something quite different here. Very arty, bold and huge pops of colour, which I loved.
When we walk into a hotel, we sort of know what to expect. Functional, predictable, and let's face it, sometimes a little bit boring. I've come to the vibrant Fortitude Valley here in Brisbane to see if it's possible to design a hotel's interior that is not only functional, but has its own personality and style. Eva, now this is a lot of personality.
Reno, it is, and it's exactly what we're going for. Ovlo is a design-led lifestyle hotel. Each of their hotels is packed full of personality. So here we have created a very unique design story, which starts with the celebration of the location, the culture and the eclectic history of Fortitude Valley. And this is reflected in the rich layering of materials that we've used throughout the hotel. For example, in the lobby, we have formed terrazzo, we have contoured wall panelling, beautifully patterned upholstery.
I've noticed a lot of organic forms in the way of curved walls and a lot of round shapes. Is that part of the design?
It is. We're quite bold about it and, comfort, creating a sculptural environment that really started to blur the lines between art and interiors.
Art. I'm glad you brought that up. I'd like to know something about this one. I mean, why and what is it?
So this is a piece by artist Gregory Hodge. We worked with Kathleen Wilson, who's an art curator, to really pull together a collection of artwork that was unique to this hotel. The colour, the dynamic nature of this piece, the flow, it's also a little bit playful.
Colourful and eclectic.
Wait till I show you Bobo. Playful and tongue-in-cheek, Bobo sits upon a plinth as we elevate him as a museum piece. Bobo also signifies the end of the lobby journey for the guests as we transition up to the guest rooms.
This is rock and roll.
This is the Major Tom Rockstar Suite, where guests are encouraged to live out their best rock star fantasy. There's a gold bar, there's a big boombox, and smart technology just to kick off the party.
Major Tom, as in David Bowie.
So David Bowie was chosen as muse for the design of these suites because of his influence and innovation across fashion, art, music, and general pop culture in the 70s. The 70s was also the most colourful and textural era of rock and roll, so we thought they had really good synergies with Fortitude Valley and the hotel. For example, you can see this in the finishes. We have a walnut timber wall panelling, walnut floors, and also some pretty colourful upholstery that was influenced by David Bowie's fashion.
Oh, wow. This is so 70s, Eva.
We weren't afraid to oversize and exaggerate the bedhead, use pops of colour, and really showcase the heightened level of 70s luxe.
Oh, look, the guests that come through the door is absolutely blown away with what they're experiencing. It's such a different experience from the cookie cutter hotels that you walk into, and it's such a bland experience. But here, they're loving like the eclectic pieces of furniture that's it's designed specifically for this project. They're loving how all the art ties in from all of the rooms have different signature elements.
I suppose you're looking at art, colour and rock and roll. What's there not to like? Woods Bagot, in collaboration with the owners Overlook Hotels, have managed to push the boundaries of design with the choice of art, colour and the overall pizzazz. And surprisingly, it really works.
Welcome back to Australia by Design. This is it, our last story for the year before we hear back from our judges on who will go through to the final.
This project by Ritz and Gagassian is typical of what they do.
The detail in this project is amazing, from the interior joinery to the exterior finishes and walls.
In a classic Victorian street like this, you might not expect to see a minimalist family home. But behind this front door is exactly that, and it's gorgeous.
The house itself is one of a number of Victorian cottages along the street. We received ours in a pretty derelict condition. We had to redo the floors, we realigned walls. In the end, we just tried to express it in its sort of simplest form.
These bricks, these are striking as soon as you see them.
The project was designed, I guess, from the beginning with these in mind. The idea was to create a material that would complement the old, but at the same time reflect light through the interior and create a nice, warm, bright interior.
So it's very modern, but it still feels very Australian too.
Yeah, the idea is to use local materials as much as possible. The blocks themselves is Australian, the black butt joinery and the black butt furniture. And we've also got the Australian garden. The native plants create views both in and out, I guess instills that Australian feel. Design and light are two things that go hand in hand. The large apertures to the east obviously lets in that beautiful morning sunlight, but then we've got small apertures to the west, and that gives a more controlled effect of receiving light.
So you clearly have a distinct style in the studio.
Very perceptive of you. I definitely think the work that we do is reflective of us, and obviously, you know, down to the way we dress. The client was obviously attracted to, yes, the way that we work, but also our restraint when it comes to architecture and design.
And that restraint plays out in the materials as well?
Definitely. We really only have 3 materials in the space, so it's concrete, blockwork and timber.
And I must admit, this is not the first thing I think of when I think family home.
The space feels amazing when you're in here and actually relates to the family and how they live. When we initially got the clients on, they were a couple, just got engaged, they've since had a kid and another one on the way. Hopefully the entire house is flexible enough to be able to be adapted into the future, but I think, you know, one really great example is obviously that second living room, which was originally sort of an afternoons, Friday night knock-off sort of space for the couple, but has since turned into a nursery. So that's a really great example of how the perceived sort of reduction of the architecture can be morphed into something sort of more functional for the family.
The materials are the same as downstairs, but I can see that you've used them in a really different way.
Yeah, so we've actually reversed it. We're sort of leaving behind the white brick and creating sort of a warm, immersive feel for the timber.
And this screen too.
Yeah, so the screen's there to block out the harsh light that comes through, creating a really beautiful, warm, inviting space for the master bedroom. So as we arrive into the master bedroom, it's a really different space to what is downstairs, and it's a nice, really warm and inviting. It's a space that sort of looks to sort of, I guess, hug you as you come in. You know, the beautiful warm timber on the floors and walls really give it a nice sense of space. The idea was to create a sort of a centre insertion, which was the kitchen, and it sort of rises upstairs to the master bedroom.
And it continues on into the bathroom as well?
So the idea there was basically to create a real sort of seamless line from the master bed into the master bath, creating a sort of a really beautiful, large space to be in.
So a lot of the furniture you've designed here yourselves.
The bed was a custom piece. The client had some thoughts about how large it could be, and so we sort of designed him a really large, spacious bed for him and his wife.
Strong, minimal design can seem easy to do because there's nothing to it. But in fact, the opposite is true because the design is front and centre. And here, it deserves to be.
Now it's time for the judges to pick the last 2 projects for our final episode's top 10.
My favourite part on this project is the use of polished concrete that connects the living area and the kitchen.
I love seeing young practices go from strength to strength, and I think they deserve to be in the top 10.
Not surprising that Stylecraft has made it to the finals.
I really love their use of colour. It's something that we're not seeing in all the projects, so it's really nice to see that bold use of colour creating lots of energy and mood.
Congratulations and thank you to all the beautiful projects that we have featured so far in this series. We now have our top 10. Join us next time as we count down to find out our #1 interior design project for the year.